search tree can find one key out of a million in only a few dozen steps. So how would you break it? A binary search tree follows one rule. Every key smaller than a node goes somewhere on its left. Every key larger than it goes somewhere on its right. Suppose we want to find 50. 50 is larger than the key at the top, so we go right. It is smaller than the next key, so we go left. And there it is. A search only follows one route downward. It does not need to inspect every key. Why can this be so fast? Because the number of steps depends on the height of the tree. A well-shaped binary tree can hold about twice as many keys every time we add another level. One level can hold one key. 2 levels can hold 3. 3 can hold 7, then 15, 31, and so on. The capacity grows very quickly, so a perfectly shaped tree can hold more than 1 million keys in only about 20 levels. Search is fast because the tree is short. But a normal binary search tree does not promise to stay short. Let us insert the same kind of keys in increasing order. 10 becomes the root, 20 is larger, so it goes right, 30 is larger than both, so it goes right again, 40 goes right again. The tree is no longer shaped like a tree. It has become one long line. What happens when we search for the final key now? There is no short route. We must inspect every key before it. With 1 million keys, that can mean 1 million comparisons. And nothing invalid happened. The binary search tree rule was followed perfectly. The shape changed only because of the order in which the keys arrived. Real keys often arrive in order: timestamps, increasing IDs, version numbers, dates, or sorted imports. So the search tree rule keeps the keys ordered, but it does not control the height. Could the tree notice when it is becoming too tall and repair its own shape? Let us begin with the smallest broken tree. We have 3 keys, 10, 20, and 30. We must keep the binary search tree rule, but we also want the tree to be short. Which key should be at the top? If 10 is at the top, both other keys are larger, so both belong on the right. If 30 is at the top, both other keys are smaller, so both belong on the left. But if 20 is at the top, 10 belongs on the left and 30 belongs on the right. The middle key gives us the only short arrangement that preserves the ordering rule. We do not need to remove the keys and insert them again. We can change only a few links. The child moves up, the old parent moves down. Their sorted relationship remains unchanged. This local link change is called a rotation. The 3-key example is easy. But what if whole subtrees are hanging underneath? Suppose x is smaller than y. Everything in A is smaller than x. Everything in B lies between x and y. Everything in C is larger than y. After the rotation, A is still smaller than x. B is still between x and y. C is still larger than y. The shape changed, but no key crossed to the wrong side of another key. That is why rotations can repair the height without breaking search. A straight lean to the right needs 1 left rotation. A straight lean to the left needs the mirrored move, 1 right rotation. But the keys may form a bend. 1 rotation cannot immediately place the middle key at the top. First, rotate the lower pair to straighten the bend, then perform the normal rotation. The other zigzag is the same idea in the opposite direction. So every broken 3-node shape needs either 1 rotation or 2. We now know how to repair a leaning tree. But how does the tree know that a repair is needed? Each node stores the height of the subtree beneath it. After inserting or removing a key, we walk back upward along the route we just used. At each node, we update its height and compare the heights of its left and right sides. 0 means the 2 sides have the same height. +1 or -1 means one side is taller by 1 level. +2 or -2 means the node is too unbalanced and needs repair. Why not demand that both sides always have exactly the same height? Because that is often impossible. With 2 keys, one side must contain the second key, and the other side must be empty. A difference of one level is unavoidable. So we allow one side to be taller by one level, but never by two. But could a tree obey this local rule and still become extremely tall? Let us try to construct the tallest tree possible using as few keys as possible. To make the tree one level taller, one side must have the full previous height. The other side may be shorter, but only by one level. So every time we add height, we are forced to bring along another subtree that is almost as tall. The smallest valid trees grow from 1 key to 2 to 4, 7, 12, 20, 33, and onward. The number of keys grows very quickly compared with the height. Even with 1 million keys, the tallest valid tree is only roughly 30 levels tall. The tree cannot become a million-node chain because the height rule forces large supporting subtrees to exist alongside every tall branch. Now let us repeat the input that broke the original search tree. Insert 10, insert 20, insert 30. The height difference reaches 2, so the tree rotates. Insert 40, insert 50. Whenever a node becomes too unbalanced, a local repair shortens the tall side. The same increasing input that created a long chain now creates a short tree. We built a binary search tree that stores subtree heights. It allows the two sides of any node to differ by at most one level. When that rule breaks, it repairs the first broken location with 1 or 2 rotations. This tree was introduced by Georgy Adelson-Velsky and Evgeny Landis. It is named after them, the AVL tree. Now that the tree stays short, how much work does searching require? Search follows one route, from the root downward. An AVL tree with n keys has only about log n levels. So search takes about log n steps. What about insertion? First, we follow one route downward to find the empty position where the new key belongs. That takes about log n steps because the tree is short. Then we walk back upward, update the stored heights, and look for the first node whose balance has become +2 or -2. That upward walk also takes at most about log n steps. Could insertion cause rotations at every level? No. Before the insertion, this subtree had a valid height. The new key increased one side by one level. When we repair the first broken node, the repaired subtree returns to the height it had before the insertion. Since its height has returned to normal, nothing above it becomes newly unbalanced. So AVL insertion needs at most one repair location. A straight line uses 1 rotation. A zigzag uses 2. The complete insertion still takes about log n steps, but it uses at most 2 rotations. Deletion begins similarly. Find the key by following one route downward, remove it, then walk back upward, updating the heights. Finding the key and walking through the tree take about log n steps. But deletion has one important difference. Insertion makes a subtree taller. Deletion can make one shorter. We may repair an unbalanced node with a rotation, but the repaired subtree can still be one level shorter than it was before the deletion. That can unbalance the parent. Repairing the parent can expose the same problem one level higher. In the worst case, repairs continue all the way to the root. So AVL deletion is still about log n steps, but unlike insertion, it may rotate at many different levels. AVL gives us a very strict height guarantee. Search is fast, insertion uses at most 2 rotations, and deletion remains logarithmic. But deletion may structurally rearrange the tree again and again on the way upward. Could we keep the logarithmic height guarantee while rotating less? Until now, every node has contained exactly 1 key. What if a node could contain more than one? 10 and 20 divide all possible values into 3 ranges. So a node with 2 keys can have 3 children. A node with 3 keys divides the values into 4 ranges, so it can have 4 children. Let us allow nodes with 2, 3, or 4 children. This is called a 2-3-4 tree. How should this wider tree stay balanced? We use one strong rule. Every root, from the root to the bottom, must cross the same number of wide nodes. In other words, every leaf remains at the same depth. The tree is perfectly height balanced. We can insert keys into a node until it contains 3. But what happens when a full node needs more room? We split it. The middle key moves upward into the parent. The smaller and larger keys become 2 separate children. What if the parent is full as well? Split the parent too. The split may continue toward the root. If the root itself splits, the entire tree gains one new level. One isolated branch never becomes deeper by itself. Every leaf remains at the same depth. This wide tree is easy to reason about. But suppose our implementation is built around ordinary binary nodes, 1 key, 1 left pointer, and 1 right pointer. Can ordinary binary nodes imitate one wide node? Yes, as long as we mark which binary nodes belong together. So let us mark them using just 2 colors. A wide node containing 1 key becomes one black binary node. Black means this node begins a real level of the wide tree. A wide node containing 2 keys requires 2 binary nodes. One is black. The additional key is red. Red means this key still belongs inside the same wide node. It looks lower in the binary picture, but it does not represent another level in the original wide tree. A 3-key node becomes one black node with 2 red children. The colors are not decorations. They record where one original wide node begins and ends. Black nodes count real levels. Red nodes are extra keys packed into those levels. The color rules now begin to explain themselves. A red node already means I am an additional key inside my parent's wide node. A red child beneath it would nest another binary layer inside the same wide node. That no longer matches our simple representation of a 2, 3, 4 node. So a red node cannot have a red child. What about the other important rule? Every route through the original 2, 3, 4 tree crosses the same number of wide nodes. Every real wide node contributes 1 black node to the binary representation. Therefore, every route to the bottom must cross the same number of black nodes. Empty child positions are treated as black boundaries. The root begins the first real level, so the root is black. How tall can the binary representation become? A short route may contain only black nodes. A longer route may contain 1 red node between black nodes. But it can never contain 2 red nodes in a row. So for the same number of real black levels, the binary route can become at most roughly twice as long. The original wide tree has logarithmic height, so this binary representation also has logarithmic height. With 1,000,000 keys, an AVL tree is at most roughly 30 levels tall. A red-black tree may approach roughly 40 in its worst shape. Both are still only a few dozen steps, nowhere near 1,000,000. How do we add a key directly to this binary representation? First, insert it exactly as we would in an ordinary binary search tree. Color the new node red. Why red? Because red means we are adding another key inside an existing wide node. Making it black would create a new black level on only 1 route and immediately break the equal black count rule. Red adds a key without adding a new real level. If the parent is black, there's no problem. The black parent and red child simply represent 1 wide node containing 2 keys. No repair is needed. The problem begins when the new red node has a red parent. 2 reds in a row mean our wide node representation has overflowed or become arranged incorrectly. To determine which one, look at the parent's sibling. We call that node the uncle. Suppose the parent and uncle are both red. Together with the black grandparent, they represent 1 full 3-key node. The wide node is full, so it must split. The 2 outside keys now begin separate wide nodes, so they become black. The middle key moves upward into the wide node above, so it becomes red. In the binary representation, this looks like recoloring. In the original wide tree, it is simply a node split. The promoted key may make the node above too full, so recoloring can continue upward. If the promoted key reaches the root, make the root black. What if the uncle is black? Then we do not have a full wide node with red pieces on both sides. Instead, the nearby keys are arranged in the wrong binary shape. 10, 20, and 30 should form one wide node. In the binary representation, the middle key should sit at the local top. One rotation lifts the middle key. Recoloring records that the three keys now belong to one wide node. What if the keys form a zigzag? We already discovered this repair in the AVL chapter. First, rotate the lower pair to straighten the bend. Then rotate again to bring the middle key to the top. The movements are ordinary BST rotations. The colors tell us how the result should be interpreted as a wide node. What about deletion? In the wide tree view, deletion is easy when the node contains several keys. Remove one key and the node still contains enough keys to remain valid. The difficult case is removing the only key from a node. That leaves an empty wide node, which is not allowed. We now have a shortage that must be repaired. Can a neighboring sibling spare a key? If it can, borrow one. A key from the parent moves down into the short node. A spare key from the sibling moves upward to replace it in the parent. In the binary representation, rotations and recoloring perform this exchange. What if the sibling has no extra key? Merge the two small nodes and pull one key down from the parent. The shortage disappears at this level, but the parent has now lost one key. If that makes the parent too small, the shortage continues upward. In the colored binary tree, this upward movement appears mostly as recoloring. Rotations are needed only when keys must be borrowed and rearranged. Did this new tree improve the big O complexity? No. Like AVL, its height is about log n. Search, insertion, and deletion therefore all take about log n steps. Then what did we gain? We changed the kind of repair the tree performs. AVL controls the height difference very tightly at every node. Red-black allows more freedom in the shape, so it may be somewhat taller. But a repair can travel upward through color changes without repeatedly reconnecting large subtrees. In the standard algorithm, insertion requires at most 2 rotations, and deletion requires at most 3. Recoloring may still travel through about log n levels, so the full operation is still about log n steps. We began with a perfectly balanced tree, whose nodes could contain several keys. Then we represented every wide node using ordinary binary nodes. Black marked the beginning of a real wide tree level. Red marked another key packed inside the same wide node. Equal black counts preserved the equal depth of the original wide tree. The rule against 2 consecutive reds prevented one logical node from growing beyond the size we allowed. This binary representation is called a red-black tree. AVL and red-black trees solve the same original problem. They prevent an unlucky insertion order from turning a binary search tree into a long chain. Both guarantee logarithmic height, so both can find one key out of a million in only a few dozen comparisons. Then what is the real difference? AVL tightly limits the height of every subtree. At every node, the 2 sides may differ by at most 1 level. That gives AVL a tighter worst-case height. Red-black allows more variation in the physical binary shape. Its longest root may approach twice the length of its shortest root. That extra freedom limits how many rotations an update requires. So the central trade-off is not logarithmic versus non-logarithmic. It is a tighter height bound versus a tighter rotation bound. When might AVL be attractive? When searches are extremely frequent and modifications are relatively rare. Its stricter balance can reduce the maximum number of comparisons needed during a lookup. When might red-black be attractive? When the tree is changed regularly and predictable structural repair matters. It may recolor several levels, but insertion and deletion use only a constant number of rotations. That makes it a common general-purpose choice for ordered maps and sets. Java's tuple uses a red-black tree. C++ commonly uses red-black trees for its ordered map and set, although the language standard does not demand that exact structure. Red-black trees are also used in parts of the Linux kernel. AVL trees still appear when a tighter search height is more important than minimizing structural changes. But if we only want fast lookup, why use a tree at all? A hash table is excellent when the whole question is, does this exact key exist? But a hash table does not maintain the keys in sorted order. What is the first meeting after 3 o'clock? Which prices are between 10 and 50? What are the 10 highest scores? A hash table usually has to inspect many entries to answer questions like these. A balanced tree can navigate directly to the relevant part of the order and then walk through the answers in sequence. It stays sorted while still providing logarithmic search, insertion, and deletion. A binary search tree keeps keys ordered, but by itself it does not control its height. An unlucky insertion order can turn it into a chain and make search linear. Rotations repair the shape without breaking the ordering rule. AVL stores subtree heights and permits a difference of at most one level. That gives it a very tight height bound. Insertion repairs one location, but deletion may rotate at several levels. A red-black tree can be understood as a balanced 2-3-4 tree, represented using ordinary binary nodes. Black nodes count real levels, red nodes are additional keys packed inside those levels. It accepts a looser shape, but insertion requires at most 2 rotations, and deletion at most 3. AVL tightly controls height, red-black tightly controls structural repair. So the next time you insert something into a sorted map, picture the structure underneath. Links rotate, colors change, wide nodes split and merge. All of that work protects one simple promise. No matter what order the keys arrive in, finding one key out of a million still takes only a few dozen steps.